Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
You are listening to the Seattle Shrimp Tank, coming to you live every other week on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time from the virtual Whedon Unleashed studio. I'm Brad Berger, along with my esteemed co-host, Dan Whedon. You can always catch a replay of the podcast at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle through iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes so you never miss an episode. If you are subscribed, please rate our podcast on iTunes. Your feedback helps us grow and improve. Our guest for today's podcast is Ryan Denny with Trash Transporter. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. And hello, Dan.
Hello, Brad. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, although
Good.
distant, and although we've been doing this for a few episodes, it's just bizarre not to be sitting physically next to you. And across from our guest.
And I miss you, Brad. I never thought I'd say this, but I really miss you. And I will say this: I'm missing Tiara's coffee. She makes incredibly good coffee. Tiara and Sue are intrepid producers, and I'm missing Tiara's coffee right now. But I do want to ask permission from you for something.
Well, sure.
I want to put in a little shameless promotion of an event that I'm going to be in a week from today.
Well, let's hear about it.
So I got hooked up on LinkedIn with a guy who reached out to me. His name is Ronell Richards. And I noticed that he was friends with Lee Heisman, our buddy in Atlanta. And so I quickly accepted. And it turns out Ronell is a podcaster himself, and he's got a whole show, an event, and everything around his podcast called Business and Bourbon. And so, as you might imagine, that got my attention.
Sure.
And so over the course of a couple of months, I got to, I just reached out, and we became talking buddies. And so one day we'll be drinking buddies, but we became talking buddies. And Ronell is going to do his first ever virtual Business and Bourbon event on Wednesday, May 13th, and he's invited me to be a featured speaker among a bunch of other great speakers. I'm really honored. It's going to be very cool. It's going to be from our side 2:30 Pacific, so 2:30 Pacific time next Wednesday, May 13th. I'll put the link up to Joy. It's free. It's a free event, 2-hour event. We'll have all the speakers. We'll have a panelist, and he's actually also got a Kentucky bourbon distillery that's doing a virtual tour, which is kind of amazing in and of itself. So there's going to be a lot of fun, frivolity, jocularity, and of course some good education and information that's being sent out. Again, it's a free event, May 13th, a week from today, 2:30 Pacific time, and I'll get that link out on our Facebook page and on our Instagram page, which would be a good reminder to everybody listening. Please follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. So thanks for letting me plug that.
Well, let me ask a question of you, Dan.
Yeah.
So do you know who Andrew Ridgely is?
I don't.
See, this is how it begins. See, Andrew Ridgely, I'm going to be the Andrew Ridgely to you, George Michael of Wham. So nobody knows who Andrew Ridgely is. And here you are, shamelessly plugging the breakup of the duo. So thanks for the invitation, right?
No breakup. There's no breakup.
So
this is like Farm Aid or something. I think we're doing a virtual farm. Yeah, no. I should have known that name, for goodness sake. Now I'm feeling that's just crazy.
No, but nobody ever remembers the other members of the band.
The other guy. Yeah, I'm the other guy. Well, listen, you know who the other guy virtually sitting across the table from us? This guy is a trash talker. And I want to mention how I know Ryan Denny, and then you'll tell us a little more about him. I met Ryan through former guest, two-time guest, Elena Imbach. He's a vibist as well, and our paths crossed at Vibe originally, and I've gotten to know Ryan, and I've learned a lot more about junk and about trash and about recycling, a whole bunch of things that we're going to get down, and we're going to be talking trash the rest of today. And I'm really excited because Ryan's a fascinating and fun guy. Brad, why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about Ryan Denny?
You got it. So Ryan is a native of Rhode Island, but a Washington resident for 2 decades. He owns Trash Transporter, a Paulsbo-based junk removal company that provides both residential and commercial services throughout Kitsap County. Since opening in 2009, Trash Transporter has donated or recycled millions of pounds of junk, with a combined total of more than 600,000 pounds last year alone. In addition to his work, Ryan is a member of 3 local chambers of commerce, the Kitsap Building Association and the Kitsap County Association of Realtors. He recently won the 2020 Leadership Kitsap 20 Under 40 Award. Ryan is a self-proclaimed hot sauce connoisseur, enjoys Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Personal development and discovery. Ryan, we've got a lot in common there. And business growth and development. Ryan, welcome to the Seattle Shrimp Tank.
Thanks for having me very much.
Ryan, before you fire off, I'm just wondering, we probably have to find out during Plead the Fifth if there's a correlation between Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and hot sauce. We'll have to find that out at some point.
Oh, keep your ears peeled, Dan.
So, you know, the part that I was going to, I love, you know, watching some of these quirky commercials, and the one that comes to mind when I read Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of the most recent progressive commercials where, you know, the lovable Jamie is showing slides and pictures of his trip someplace, and someone makes the comment, and again, I'm not sure what it was. He goes, Jamie, are you a black belt in karate or something? He goes, oh no. And then he describes what he actually is. And he goes, it's an entirely different art form. So I'm going to have to learn a little bit about how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is different than other forms of Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Brazilian. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I mean, let's just start with that. That won't be my official first question, but I'm going to throw that to you.
Yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's basically a derivative of Jiu-Jitsu, which is Japanese, and it's really become famous by a family called the Gracies from Brazil, and that's where it's really gained global popularity. And it's just kind of, it's good because, firstly, it gets your priorities in check. You're not worrying about the Wi-Fi code if you're worrying about being, you know, you're kind of in combat with another human being. So it really helps you get some perspective and relax, and kind of high level problem solving, etc. But the biggest difference is, yes, it's from Brazil, and now it's kind of just blown up from there.
Well, I would love to know, I mean, there's all sorts of stories you can tell about, you know, phenomenal entrepreneurs from our area who have been in the so-called trash business, you know, probably one of the most famous in our local area, you know, the LeMay empire that was built. How did you get involved in trash?
Wow. Okay, so I'll try to keep it a little bit short, but I was at an apartment complex. It was a friend of mine that lived there, and we had to bring the garbage out. It was maybe 300 yards. It was raining, to the compactor area. And we thought, man, what if you could hire somebody to do this? So I initially sold a door-to-door service called Valet Trash, where I would knock on the door, I'd have a bin in my hands, and I would say, hey, can I just bring your garbage out for you 3 times a week? And I was just going everywhere. It didn't gain a lot of traction, and this was kind of 2009, 10 or so. And I would have the apartment manager ask me, hey, there's a couch by the dumpster, there's a mattress by the dumpster, do you pick this up? I said, no, that's not what I do. Not what I do. But I eventually pivoted and had a little bit of self-awareness, and I just started going to every single apartment complex, cleaning that area for them in the entire Kitsap Peninsula. And it just kind of went with the flow instead of kind of against the grain, and kind of took off from there.
So
awesome.
Ryan, and I think I may not be alone in the thought process that when you think of somebody coming to pick up your trash, mine comes every Wednesday.
Hmm.
It seems like it's done by the city, but it's not. We understand that they have contracts with different disposal. How do you? I mean, who do you contract with? Are you mostly in rural areas? Do you work in cities? How does a business like yours find and attract new clients?
Great question. So a lot of it has been the relationships I've built face to face with. After going to the apartments, I decided who else has a massive need for this type of service, and it was property management companies, construction companies, realtor offices. If I could get in front of them and talk to a group of 25 realtors, that really helps, especially considering that junk removal is a really fragmented kind of low barrier to entry type of business. So you can do a lot online, but that face-to-face marketing has really gone a long way for us.
So there obviously are some competitive firms out there. Some of them are, pretty large. One that has an 800 number in blue trucks. What's kind of your and this might be a good segue into the hot sauce thing, but what's your secret sauce? What makes you different from the other, outfits that are out there that claim to do the same thing?
Speaking my language there.
All right.
Yeah. So our biggest thing is I really push the local, being a value-based company and being a local company, and just kind of going above and beyond what that means to us. So I sometimes will educate the customers. Like we pay our people a livable wage. We promote from within. We know more recycling and donation facilities just that aren't online because we explore them and we actually live in the community that we service. We're not paying a massive franchise fee that goes outside of our community. And I think we're lucky where I'm at and Paulsbo and Dan's at as well. It's such a locally oriented area that they can kind of understand that close-knit relationship between small business and the more small business thrives, the more the community thrives. And they've really got around us in Kitsap for that reason.
So I'm kind of gonna go back to my original question, because one of the things see if I said, man, I like that Ryan Denny. I really love his story and I love that he's local and I want him to pick up my trash. It doesn't really work that way because I'm stuck with whatever the city of Paulsbo is contracted with. I can't have your green truck with the white lettering that everybody could see. You have to watch the video later to see that. But that great green truck, I can't have you come up and pick up my trash. Am I correct about that?
Absolutely. Great. Thanks for clearing that up for me. So I won't bore anybody with the details of the UTC that they regulate the utilities and transportation in the area. But what that type of service is, it's a reoccurring basis, a curbside collection. Technically, how we are defined as a site restoration company. So we're not doing curbside collection on a regular basis. We're not allowed to do that. But everything else that doesn't go in the can, we're allowed to compete. It's an open market for that. Also, recycling is an open market too, all across the board, even curbside.
So it's all the stuff, as you mentioned, at the apartment complex, the mattresses, the couches, the stuff that you cannot leave at the curb, right? And, for individuals who have large amounts of stuff or accumulated items over a period of time, and they may not be, physically capable of moving all this sort of stuff. Is that, you come in and even, proverbially come in and I point to things and you take them away?
Correct. Yeah, sometimes not able. I think more so than not, this day and age, people are just trying to buy back their time and their effort. Like, where does this stuff go? How do I bring this here? Do I have a truck? It was just, if you can be plug and play and just be a one-stop shop and make it really seamless and stress-free, I think that's really appealing. to people.
Do you know what else is seamless and stress-free? It's transitioning into a commercial break. That is seamless and stress-free. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors. And when we come back with our guest, Ryan Denny, for the hot or not section of the show, I probably should have had something about hot sauce in here. When we come back for the hot or not section of the show, we're going to find out if Ryan thinks spring cleaning while in stay home, stay healthy mode is hot or not. Don't walk away. We will be right back with more of the Seattle Shrimp Tank.
The Seattle Shrimp Tank is brought to you by IdealLife360.com. What would it be like to be in the best shape of your life, both physically and mentally, every day for the rest of your life? Have awesome relationships with the people you care about most. Never having to worry about money again. What would it be like if you received a letter out of the blue and suddenly discovered you had 20 more years to live than you ever imagined? What would you do with those extra years of your life? How many lives would you touch? What kind of legacy would you leave behind? What changes would you make today knowing you had 20 more years in your future? What new, big challenges would you take on? What would be next? Text the word IDEAL to 89800 and discover how to rethink, redefine, and reinvent the best years of your life.
Welcome back to the Seattle Shrimp Tank from the virtual Whedon Unleashed studio, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in Seattle and the greater Puget Sound area. I'm Brad Berger, along with my esteemed co-host, Dan Whedon. Remember, you can always catch a replay of the podcast at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or catch us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. For our next segment, Hot or Not.
And Hot or Not is sponsored by Shrimp Peelers, West Sound Workforce, Port Ludlow Resort, the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, SJ Graphics, and the Kitsap Sun newspaper. So Ryan, here's what we are going to do. We are going to pepper you with questions of things that we think are timely, important, business, personal, whatever. And we're going to find out if you think they are hot or not. And at the end, you win absolutely nothing. You heard me mention spring cleaning. Hot or not? We're in the stay home, stay healthy phase. Should we be spring cleaning this spring?
Oh, that's magma hot, I would say.
That is the hottest of hot sauce.
Obviously, that's a little self-serving, but I think right now is the time us Washingtonians, we're ready to go outside usually because, we want some sunshine. We're out mingling amongst people. So the fact that we're inside, I think we need that clarity that you get from cleaning. That's our tagline, clear your junk, clear your mind, for that self-care and that peace of mind that we're kind of searching for right now. And that really goes a long way.
So let me do a quick follow-up because I thought you might think that was hot. Spring cleaning often involves those types of things you mentioned, things that are too big, too large, too bulky, too unwieldy to go into the trash can. Now, I know somebody like me in the past, before I knew you, would say, I'm going to order a dumpster, right? Can I order you? Can you come instead of the dumpster?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do that all the time. I have calls for dumpsters very regularly. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know Barb is going to be listening, so I think you may be getting a call from us very soon. Mm-hmm. Barb is my wife, so it means we have some junk at home.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Follow up.
So Ryan, here's a hot or not for you. Since you mentioned recycling in addition to trash, but learning how to be green.
Oh yeah, scorching. I mean, that's super important. Yeah, we work with a ton of, we work with Habitat for Humanity, St. Vincent de Paul, etc. There's only so much land that you could cram trash into in landfills. So the more you can divert it, we call it landfill diversion, the better that is for everybody.
Well, how do you, oh, I'm sorry, Brad, go ahead.
Well, I think we're going to ask the exact same question. So, you come to my house, you fill up your truck, you've got all this stuff. What's the process that you guys go through, once you come and fill up your truck with all of my quote junk?
Great question. So our field reps will have a really good idea of what goes where. And we spend the most of our time probably recycling more than donating. A lot of people usually have a few things they can load in the car, etc. But we'll know, for instance, suppose there's all yard debris that's going to go to a fiber yard, or if there's a couple appliances that go with it, they'll stack it on the back. They'll make a stop at an appliance recycling place on the way to the fiber yard, etc. So if it's a very tiny percentage of something that can be recycled, it's really hard to sometimes make special trips. But once there's a certain, I guess, threshold that's been made, they know where it goes. We educate them, we train on it all the time.
You know, in the first segment, you talked, Ryan, about your employees that you hire locally and all of that. How many employees do you have?
5.
5. How do you, I mean, it's interesting. I remember the days of seeing the garbage collectors come and when I was a kid and dump, didn't even have the automatic thing. How do you find people who are out searching for a job and doing junk removal and trash transporting? Talk about how you're finding your employees.
I think I approach hiring people, it's like you're marketing to a human. And that's might sound a bit strange, but you have to think about the type of culture that you're creating and who you want. And I think if you can be transparent about what you're trying to do, which we are, which is what we're trying to do here is build leaders and give people skills to eventually possibly own their own business or a portion of our business. If you're just super transparent and you give them the benefits of what a small business really is, which is being flexible and taking care of people where they have an impact versus a large corporation where sometimes people can feel like a number. That's exactly how I approach it. I try to.
So Ryan, when you first started out, it was you carrying around, a container, knocking door to door. What does trash transporter look like today?
As far as kind of infrastructure?
Yeah. How many trucks do you have? People they've got, those sorts of things.
Gotcha. Yeah. A couple trucks right now. I've really had a big springboard kind of past couple of years. A big part of that's been Vibe. Speaking of Vibe, Dan, kind of a breakout year, just getting out of my own way and letting the business kind of run without me. In a sense, I'm really tied to it, but the work needs to go on without me. And my job is to grow the business, not be working in the business, it's working on business. But yeah, a couple trucks right now. We got some big stuff planned, and we're actually going to get into dumpsters at the end of this year. We've transitioned into doing some larger demolition projects, it's like single family home teardowns. We've got a couple of those in the works right now. But yeah, so we have a home office, about 1,000 square feet. We don't have nothing out in town, but we're growing. We're steady growing. It's gonna be a big year for us.
So when you talk about dumpsters, is this a situation where I think that where Dan was going, where I've got a longer term project, right? It's not something that I need you to come to, and take care of on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever. It's a situation where maybe I am doing some demolition in my own home, or I decide, what I really need is just a vessel, right, to be able to put all of this stuff in, and you could drop something in my driveway. Is that kind of the direction you think you're going?
That's exactly right. There's two types of people, and we're gonna go approach it like this. We're gonna offer self-service or full service junk removal. Mm-hmm. So self-service would be that person exactly like you described. We're doing an ongoing project. I don't want to have some drywall sitting in my driveway getting rained on for you guys to pick it up. But that's exactly right. Yeah, some people that are a little more hands-on and might have something that's ongoing. But we have a huge demand for that we feel like that we're gonna meet that and dive in.
How much, Ryan? How much of what you're doing is educating your customers? It seems like this is more than just, hey, we'll be buying and pick up your trash and your junk. It sounds, and I think you called them a specialist. How much is education a part of it?
I think it is a huge part, but I think I spend more time educating my employees than I do the customer, so they can be educated enough to teach the customers that they're with. I think that's a massive part of employee retention. How I hold on to people is, hey, I'm creating a program basically entrepreneurial minded individuals. And we're lucky that the field reps, it's kind of the job, it's carved itself out to create those skills almost automatically in a way by complete happenstance. They go out and they bid the jobs themselves. They're autonomous. They're responsible for their logistics, etc. So I spend a lot of time educating them, and I'm actually creating a program to do more of that, and so they can educate our customers.
Hey, Ryan, I have a hot or not. I may have just jumped in on Brad. In our virtual world, non-virtual world, he would just hit me or something, but he'll have next. Hot or not, social media advertising.
Very hot, super hot, especially for being, and this is new to me. I did not have a social media presence until this year, being in business 11 years. And right now, based on the analytics, it's responsible for over 50% of my web traffic.
Wow.
And
wow.
I think being a service-based business, period, you need to be on social media because it's local. People can see what you're about and kind of dig in, and people are checking on there versus buying a product that might be online far away. They're just looking for a specific product, in my opinion.
So here's my hot or not, Ryan, and you kind of mentioned it a couple of answers ago, but a hot or not work-life balance.
Massive. That's lava right there.
Lava.
Some people say it's a myth, excuse me, but I think part of being the big breakout year I've had the past couple years is carving out that work-life balance more. Being an entrepreneur, I feel like we're having work in our headspace more than the average person who can clock out. It's like, hey, I need to take care of this task. You have all these tabs open. That the more that I can carve out solid boundaries for my time for hot sauce and jiu-jitsu or whatever that is, everything else gets better.
That's awesome. And I know that you mentioned that because obviously you're carrying that a little bit into your business philosophy too, because you mentioned that just kind of creating space both physically and mentally, right, is something that is a goal that your company has. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Oh, okay. So a quick story. A long time ago, many years ago, I was throwing away I was looking down, I was in the dump, I threw away these doors and I'm staring at these things like, man, those are some nice doorknobs. Like I need to bring those out and hold on to them. You know what I mean? I think we're attached to our things. And it's sometimes hard to let them go. Hey, we might need this thing, but I have not yet met someone who hasn't gotten rid of something and felt like a weight was lifted along with the item that was gone. And I think that's crucial, especially.
I got to ask this though, Ryan, because has anybody ever gone basically dumpster diving in your trash you picked up because their spouse threw something away that it can't be gone? I can't believe you did that. Have you ever had that happen?
Oh, no, not that I know of. We try to be.
You haven't had to pull somebody out by their legs that is in the trash, no?
No, not okay. Magazines, no, not yet. Fingers crossed. We'll put a contingency plan in place maybe down the road for that. We'll come see you for that one. No, not yet.
Well, Brad, you will not be surprised. And it was even recently, there was a giveaway box going. And I said, what is this doing in here?
At your house? At
my house. And Barb said, well, it's going to giveaway. I said, what are you talking about? You can't get rid of this. She goes, what are you going to do? It's going in my man cave is where it's going. And one of these days, it's just a sign, but it's like, wait a minute. You didn't get permission to give this away. So I just was wondering if Ryan, some point, somebody's running down the road behind one of his trucks trying to get something back.
Well, there may be a plead the fifth in there.
There could be. There could be. And my guess is that we're awfully close to break, and that seems like a good transition right now. So we are going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors. And when we come back with our guest, Ryan Denny, with Trash Transporter for our famous Plead the Fifth, in fact, our muy caliente Plead the Fifth section of the show, we're going to find out what the weirdest thing Ryan's ever had to get rid of is. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Seattle Shrimp Tank.
The Seattle Shrimp Tank is brought to you by our studio sponsor, Whedon Unleashed. As a business owner, you don't have a professional life and a personal life. You have a life, and that life is full of both opportunities and obstacles. Your business is the vehicle to fuel your life. If you run out of fuel because of a crisis, then your entire lifestyle is affected. Dan Whedon works with small and medium-sized business owners to ensure that no calamity is fatal. Dan focuses on accelerating business growth while at the same time planning and implementing strategies on preventing, mitigating, and recovering from those obstacles of business and life. Through his consulting work and his partnership with First Underwriters Insurance to finance your risk, he'll make sure that you can, with confidence, unleash the value of your business and lifestyle. To get a complimentary review of your situation, call Dan at 360-271-1592. Again, that number is 360-271-1592. Or email him at dan@danwhedon.com. Tell Dan that you heard him on the Seattle Shrimp Tank podcast and receive a 20% discount on any work that is agreed to. Be unleashed. Be well.
Welcome back to the Seattle Shrimp Tank from the virtual Whedon Unleashed studio, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in Seattle and the greater Puget Sound area. I'm Brad Berger, along with my esteemed co-host Dan Whedon, also known as George Michael. And you can always catch a replay of the podcast at at Shrimp Tank. Podcast.com/Seattle. This is a live show, folks. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or catch us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. For our next segment, Plead the Fifth.
Wake Me Up Before You Go.
I
Plead
will.
the Fifth is sponsored by West Sound Workforce, Port Ludlow Resort, Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, SJ Graphics, and the Kitsap Sun.
See, people are going to have to go back to the beginning of the podcast, Dan, and listen intently. To the opening part.
You never know what you're gonna get. So listen, Ryan, we're gonna hit you with some Plead the Fifth here. We're gonna up the caliente sauce on you. You can plead the fifth just once, and at the end again you win absolutely nothing. Look, you're in the trash and junk removal business. I have to believe that you, maybe not personally, but you or one of your employees have seen something that is beyond odd, weird, strange, unbelievable. What is the oddest, weirdest, craziest item you've ever removed from a location?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to give you guys just a few and let you decide. I mean, it's been all over the map. There's been 572 bottles of perfume in a single storage unit. I've done a life-size samurai.
Not a real samurai.
It was concrete. No, so
a concrete samurai.
Yeah, concrete. There was oh my goodness, there was this apartment that the pathways have been shortened to about a foot wide walking through because it was to the entire ceiling with beer cans. The entire ceiling. So that was pretty strange. Those are a few. I'm sure if I racked my brain, I could come up with a few more. But
goodness.
Strange.
Well, Ryan, share with us a time that you turned down a client and why.
Oh man.
And this needs to be a good story.
No pressure. It's kind of simple. It's like I'll teach. I mean, sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Sometimes if someone's really, and we pride ourselves in customer service, but if people are just ultra beating you up on price, or maybe just aren't satisfied with anything, it's sometimes easier to just say, hey, you feel free. You can do business with whoever you choose. This is what we offer here. We're more than happy to earn your business, but yeah, you can spend your dollars how you'd like. So nothing really specific, but that's maybe happened to just a few times. Usually, yeah.
Well, I kind of have a follow-up to that one, Dan, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Have you ever had to go to a hoarder's house?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, yes. I was actually talking about this today. Sometimes they're in really bad shape. And especially in the beginning, anything you got, let's do it, and it doesn't matter. But the most one that stands out in my mind was a fellow that was super like hyper intelligent, and he had, so it wasn't anything dirty or anything like that, but he had 4 or 5 or 10 of everything. And we removed in 3 days, it was 30,000 pounds of material, and 18,000 pounds was donated, like toolboxes and 8 chess sets. And it was pretty wild, but the guy was super ecstatic once it actually taken place.
Wow.
So let me paint a scenario in this plead the fifth. Have you ever had someone call you up and say, my neighbor needs their site cleaned up, come on over, and I'll even pay, but this stuff has to go, come over and clean out my neighbor? Have you ever had anything like that happen?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's happened a handful of times when your neighbor's taking down your property value. Yeah, usually if it's gotten to that point, it's we've had the health department call us in certain situations, or the neighbor too. Yeah, that's happened.
So, Ryan, I want to explore a little bit about your hot sauce connoisseur portion of your life. So, how did you get involved in that?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Well, I
There's
grew
a
up.
follow on to this, by the way.
I'm a Navy brat, so I can't do this to my mom. So, okay, I grew up on hot sauce and everything. We were always bouncing around. And my dad had Tabasco, and it's just been growing up. I've had bland food, and I've been just throwing stuff on it since I was a kid, on everything besides cereal. And I've gone to the point where it's, depending on the cuisine, it has a certain type of hot sauce that needs to go with it. I don't know. It makes me feel alive. It wakes me up.
Ryan, what is the hottest sauce? I guess this really goes into the plead the fifth, Brad.
Yes.
What is the hottest sauce you've ever consumed? And I guess as a second part, has it ever made you literally sick?
I'm more about the flavor, but I've had a sauce. It was scorpion pepper, which is a million Scoville units. If anyone wants to know the rating for the hotness, but what happens to me, I'm not sure if this is anybody else. If it's too hot for me, I just start hiccuping.
Hiccuping.
I swear. It's just instant. And that's when I know that's when I've had too much and I got to reel it back.
My kids are always talking about some sort of like a ghost chili pepper or something. So how does that compare? Where is this on the scale?
I want to say Ghost is right there with Scorpion. It's got to be 1 million+ Scoville units. That's just not, I mean, if it's got more pepper concentrate than pepper spray, sometimes it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
So, but then you do, use your hot sauce to double as pepper spray?
There you go. You got to be ready all times.
Hey, listen, Ryan, before we end, I want to go back to your business just a little bit. You mentioned something earlier. I think it was the last segment, or maybe it was the first one. You said something about doing, people doing demolition. Mm-hmm. Do you guys do any demolition work? If I said, look, I don't want to hurt myself and I want to do something, can you come out and do demolition work? Is that something that you do?
Absolutely. So we have two divisions that we're moving towards right now. We've done light demolition for years, which is, hey, we have a shed in the back. We have this, a deck that we need torn down or whatnot. But we're also moving to medium, kind of heavier duty, where we have a guy on staff who's been doing machine excavator work for over 10 years. He had a business. And this is for, the most recent project is a tear downs with an insurance company for a fire that took place.
Okay.
So we're going to bring in a large excavator, tear it down safely and efficiently, quickly. And that's kind of where we're moving towards in our more medium, kind of heavier duty demo type of stuff.
So Ryan, we talked about how you got started with Trash Transporter, but we didn't really talk about what life was before that. Because obviously you're a successful entrepreneur, business owner, etc. But was it always that way? What did you do before? Where does this entrepreneurial spirit come from?
Wow. Honestly, I saw my dad and my family growing up. They just worked so hard for other people, and they would kind of, people would build their stuff on the backs of them, kind of thing. And I just thought, why not? If I'm going to work that hard, because some of my my mom and dad are some of the hardest working people I've ever come across. I'm going to do it for myself somehow. And then I'm going to try to take care of people better than I saw them getting taken care of. So that's kind of a heavy answer, but that started
great.
it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ryan, I'm going to throw one of my favorite plead the fifths at you.
Gosh.
Love to know who your celebrity crush is.
Oh my goodness. I don't know.
Yeah, yes, everybody knows. Come on, even my wife knows my celebrity crushes. So come on now.
Jessica Biel.
Good, Jessica Biel. That's a good pick right there. That is a good pick.
I think we've had that one before. I think she's popular.
We probably need to keep track of these.
Yeah, after 89, 90 episodes or so, I think she's come up more than once.
Yes, she has. So that's a good call right there. Well, Ryan, what would you like people to know as they're listening to this whole podcast? They've heard a lot about junk and trash transportation. What would you like people to really understand and know about your business and what is your big message at the end of this?
I would say choose local. And I think that's kind of become a cliche to a certain point. But I mean, small business is the backbone of the American economy. And the closer you get to the center of where you live, the more beneficial it will be to you and your community, and hopefully the better customer service you should get. So if you choose us, you choose someone else, especially right now. People are understanding more the direct correlation between small business and the community. So I think that's it. Choose local, I would say.
Okay.
So Ryan, I do have one kind of final question that I'd like to ask, and that is the current stay home, stay healthy order. How has that impacted your business, or are you affected by that? Because some businesses in our state are considered to be essential, others not so much. I'm just kind of wondering where your guys' business has fallen in that array.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we've been essential the whole time.
Okay.
But it's definitely been a roller coaster in the sense that initially the dumps were closed to the public, and the county kind of reached out, and we chatted with them about assisting the public in this time that people are used to bringing their stuff there and no longer could. So I've had a lot of understandably upset public, like, hey, what do we do with our stuff? We're not a public utility, so we have to charge differently. We pay a living wage, et cetera. We have labor costs that go into it, but that's been a big part of it, just kind of dealing with that and educating the public. But spring's been steady for us. I think people are at home more, like we first talked about, cleaning up.
Really? We're
exactly.
home more. Huh?
Yeah, no kidding. How to do that, Brad? But yeah, it's been a wild ride. But yeah, that, and then spring cleaning's coming into the mix, and we've had 10 plus years of repeat referral, so we're pretty steady.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, we want to thank you so much for coming on the program today. For our listeners that want to get in touch with you or learn more about Trash Transporter, how can they get more information?
Our website is trashtransporterllc.com. You can follow us or like us on Facebook or Instagram. It's just Trash Transporter, big green trucks.
Awesome. So our next show from the virtual Whedon Unleashed studio will be Wednesday, May 20th, 2020, where our guest will be Kevin Briscoe with CFO Selections. Make sure you check out all the replays on shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle and on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And remember, to become a shark, we all start out as shrimps.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in a shrimp tank.